Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another live stream. Hope you guys are ready to rock and roll and talk about, well, a very important subject, which is the digitization of Mexico. I know a lot of you guys out there are worried about that, and that's what we're going to be talking about today in today's live stream. As you guys already know, as we like to do here on the show, we like to, give it a few minutes, make sure everybody gets their notifications, gets here on time so that we can proceed with the show. Again, my apologies for being a little late today. I had to, right before I was going live, I was on the phone with, the person that was fixing my bike. And, they were just telling me all these things that, the bike needs fixing. So, again, my apologies for, being a little late today, but you guys already know. We're always running on Mexico time out here. We're always running a little late. But anywho's, today I decided to walk around El Centro. That's what we're going to be showing you in the background here. I'm going to be showing you basically the markets and the areas where a lot of the locals, do their thing. So you guys can get a better idea and understand a little bit more as to, the conversation we're going to be having today. Because, again, as you guys can see, nothing that you're seeing around you is digitized. There's no digitization there anywhere, and probably not going to be coming anytime soon. Okay, so that's why I decided to show you this part of Mexico, which is the majority of Mexico in many areas where, again, the digitization just goes as far as maybe a phone, if that at best. Everything is done in cash. Payments out here are done all mostly in cash. Almost nobody is digitized like they are in the USA, and so on and so forth. But anywho's, guys, welcome back, to another live stream. Hopefully you guys are having a great week out there. Despite all the insanity going on in the world at the moment. But anyway, shout out to everyone out there in the chat. Shout out to everyone out there, joining us today. We got Adrian, Firuz, and Waco Soto. Shout out to everyone. Wake Soto. Hello from Morelia. All right, from Morelos, Jalisco. Oh, sorry, I read right. Yeah, from Jalisco. Wow, Tepetitilian. I don't know if I said it right. Sorry, my Spanish and my English not so good sometimes. But anyways, welcome to everyone out there. So we got Isais. Man, I'm always saying your name wrong, man. I'm just gonna. Anyway, shout out to Is. I'm just gonna call you Is from now on. All right. We got Chi-Town in the house. We got Whipple. All right. Anyways, but that's the thing, guys. There's so many people out there worried. All you guys hear about is all this news online. Oh my God, Mexico's becoming digitized. Mexico is now going to be accepting only digital payments when it comes to gas stations and when it comes to toll booths, and everyone's going to have a digital ID and this and that. And it's like, bro, Like in many places, you can't even pay with a credit card or a debit card. It's just, it's a completely different world out here. Everyone out here works on cash and maintains cash. And the thing is that, a lot of people just don't understand is that, they might force, certain things to comply, but there's always going to be many, areas of the economy that are just not going to comply. And there will be, clandestine gas stations that will only accept cash. People can take other roads that don't have to be toll roads. And when it comes to the digital ID, people just don't have to get it flat out, straight up. There's people out here that don't even, register their car, renew their tags, let alone even have a simple ID, So it's a completely different scenario out here, and I know that there's a large push, worldwide at the moment, trying to digitize everybody and try to get everybody, to be on the digital grid. But out here, again, as we've talked about over and over again, it's a hard sell. It's a real hard sell on the people, and in many aspects, what they've tried to do through the years to digitize everybody is they started to give people, like pensions, and started to give people benefits and things like that. Very little, very tiny amount of benefits, but in order to get those benefits, you would need to get yourself a bank account. again, people don't even have bank accounts out here. So, what a lot of people do, like, for example, a lot of old people that are getting pensions these days, from, the new governments. Again, not just Claudia's government, but, the government before them. What they've done is that what they do is that, they just simply, they get like a, their son, their daughter, their granddaughter, their grandson, to sign them up for the bank account. And then all they do is that they just go to the bank every month when they're supposed to get their money, and they just get the cash out, and that's it. And they use the cash. And like I said, it's to me, the way I've actually been looking at it more than anything else, because since I live out here and I function in the Mexican economy out here, what I'm really seeing more than anything else, I think a lot of the rhetoric of the news, concerning a lot of the digitization of Mexico is a lot more to do with propaganda that they're trying to basically give to outsiders out there. So for example, most of the people that are really worried about this are people like you that are watching this show from outside of Mexico, and you're thinking about moving to Mexico, and now you're thinking about it again because, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I'm trying to escape this digital prison, and now they're going to put that digital prison out there in Mexico. And so, again, everybody, there's many people out there that are looking into moving to Mexico, and for some people, they don't move to Mexico, for example, because it's too violent, or too, again, just the violence out here, right? But some people come from more violent areas in the USA, for example, so the violence out here, if there's any at all, is nothing compared to what you're used to. And so, again, as the years have gone on, more and more people have known the truth about what Mexico is. So obviously they're less scared about moving to Mexico, traveling to Mexico, and so on and so forth. And so, this is all part of like more, news, to scare people out there in order to, again, convince them not to come to Mexico or move to Mexico because, well, everything's going to get digitized. They're going to know where you are. They're going to know everything about you. They're going to know blah, blah, and it's like, again, this is why we're walking through El Centro here, so I can show you how nothing is digitized at all. And nothing is going to get digitized anytime soon. This is just El Centro of Merida, Yucatan, but just about every other centro in any other city, no matter how big or small the city is, looks very similar. And the economy functions on cash only, and it's an informal economy. This is part of the informal economy that a lot of us are always talking about. All those people there, look at how many businesses just set up there, selling all kinds of things, and how many people go and shop there all the time because, again, it's more affordable, and so on and so forth. So, and it's all cash, and these markets, this economy is not going anywhere. This is the majority of the Mexican economy. And it's not like that where you're from. So, it's a lot easier for you. It's a lot easier for the propaganda to convince you that, something similar to what you're living in your country could happen here. But again, as you guys can look at that bus right there, that bus is cash only. So, anyways, shout out to Lourdes, shout out to Terry Wright, shout out to everyone out there in the chat. Welcome to the show. And so look, Lourdes says financial literacy is needed. We're going to have a cashless world in the very near future. No, but see, that's the thing. See, look, that bus is digital only. That bus is no cash. And so, what right there where you're talking about the financial literacy, that's the thing. I think that a lot of people have it twisted. A lot of people, they look at Mexico, for example, and they assume that people don't have financial literacy here. But the reality is that the typical Mexican, even the Mexican that's selling fruits and vegetables or whatever they're selling right there on the side of the road, has a lot more financial literacy than the typical American. It's as simple as that. And that's a hard pill to swallow and the hard truth. This is why, the whole digital system is just not going to take place here, or it's going to be so difficult to even, get going or pull off here because, simply put, people understand, the value of the privacy that cash brings them. On top of that, in Mexico, as I've mentioned before, countless times, hold on a second, let me get it for reference. Let me get my so out here in Mexico, for reference, everybody, knows the value of things like gold and silver. Okay. And they sell gold and silver. Okay. This is a Mexican, leave it that right here. Okay. But anyways, and the typical Mexican, has the ability to buy gold and silver at the bank. They have the ability to again, use gold and silver as money. Okay. And so, that's the thing. And so, like, the typical Mexican actually, since they don't have the 401k, since they don't have the government to take care of this and that, since they don't have, all these systems in place like they do in the USA, they're forced to be financially literate. Okay, period, end of story. And so because of that, that's why they don't trust the banks. They don't trust the government. They definitely are not going to trust the digital money, digital grid. And even if the government and the people in power figure out a way to get all that cash out of the system, it's okay. There's gold and silver in the system, and there always will be, and there always has been. Okay, and that's money. You know what I mean? And so they're always going to stick with physical. Okay, they're always going to go with the physical. I'm not saying that they won't use digital. Okay, I'm not saying that digital isn't used and that people don't take advantage of using digital payments and digital infrastructure, but it's very different when you have a society, okay, a whole civilization, a whole country, okay, that is very well versed on financial literacy. And again, not everybody is the sharpest knife in the drawer. Not everybody has, the same amount of financial literacy. But through my years living out here, just talking to, again, just a vendor, talking to the taxi driver, talking to everybody, they understand it fairly well. You know what I mean? A lot more than the typical American does or a typical Canadian does. And so, out here, Mexicans, they're forced, to live a life in which, they don't, they can't be relying on credit. They can't be relying on debt. They can't be relying on any of these things. Also, they know that, those things come with a lot of problems. And so, most Mexicans out here, they pay as they go. You know what I mean? If they want something, well, they save enough money to get that. And then they go on ahead and they purchase it. It's as simple as that, you know what I mean? And they pay in cash. And so it's a very different system out here. Most people, they're like, well, Jose, where do they put, their savings? Where do they put their money if they can't put it in the bank? Well, this is why they buy properties. They buy homes. They invest in physical assets, whether it's a property, whether it's gold and silver, again, a business, there's many physical things that you can put your money into, and most people do in one shape, form, or another. They put that money to work. And a lot of it, just simply has to do with the fact that they can't rely on the government, or they can't rely on the stock market. They can't rely on all these things that a lot of us are in the U.S. and take for granted and rely on. So, for a typical American or Canadian or things like that, you're already stuck in that world. You're stuck in that digital world already. You're using that digital currency. Your dollars are digital currency. You know what I mean? So it's a very different different world. And so out here in Mexico, the reality is that it's not like that at all. Most Mexicans are very financially literate. And they know the real value of things. And so that's why they're not too keen on anything digital, period, end of story. Look, I'll give you an example of something by the way, I want to give you an example of something real quick. I don't want to lose my train of thought, but before I do that, shout out to Asís. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Muchas gracias. We just got back to Merida. Love your channel. Oh, all right. That's awesome. So happy to hear that. Thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you for those digital dollars that I'm going to soon turn into physical dollars. But anyways, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That was very nice of you. But anywho's, so right now, one of the things that the government has been pushing, recently has been that everybody has to register their phone numbers. And we've talked about this in length. I uploaded a video talking about it more in detail. But long story short, wanting everybody to, again, register their numbers. Look at right there where what I'm just showing you right there. You see how they just sell phones and SIM cards and they sell. So again, first of all, even if they force everyone to really register their phones, again, they already have, registered, quote unquote, registered SIM cards and all that other stuff available for purchase right on the street. Okay, so that's number one. But number two, the reality is that nobody has registered. Again, they've been forcing this registering for since the beginning of the year or before that, and they keep having to push it back and push it back because nobody is registering. And I'm going to tell you, this is the story I wanted to tell you. So, very recently, we had a mutual friend, register their phone number. Because, hey, it is what it is. Some people want to register. I get it. You know what I mean? I was about to say they're goody two-shoes, but anyways, it doesn't matter. They went on ahead and they registered their phone number, right? Long story short, it only took a couple days before they hacked their number. And last night, I was getting phone calls from that person, okay? Like, hey, asking for money. So, I mean, look, all I'm saying is that keeps happening, okay? That's just one mutual friend. Christian has a friend of hers, from the work that she does at school that she did anyways, and she registered her phone, and again, same thing, they hacked her phone, they just hacked the number, they sold her data in her case. So, I mean, people already know that this happens. People are already fully aware of this and they hate it, that this happens constantly out here. But now, anyone that's registering their phone, they're already immediately, getting hacked, getting, their information sold, it's already, causing havoc. So what makes you think that anyone's going to be registering their phone anytime soon? They're not. And so, again, how many people have registered their phone? I don't know. I think like 5%, 10% of the population. And so, again, who runs the cell phone companies? Corporations. So what, you think the corporations are automatically going to just, okay, we're going to turn everyone's cell phone off in the country? They're not going to do that because that means they're not going to get paid. So no, of course not. And so that's why they keep pushing back the date. Nobody's registering. And just like everything else here in Mexico, eventually they'll forget about it. And it's just going to, like it's nothing ever happened. You know what I mean? And so, and I could go on and on with so many things out there. Again, going on with the digitization of, your corp. What is your corp? Your corp is your social security number, right? And so again, everything out here is based on paper. And it's a lot of times when you need to even get your information, to, go to the hospital, you can't even get it, or it's very difficult to get it. It's a pain in the ass to get. We've talked about it in depth here. So, long story short, what they're trying to do is just make it digital so it's a lot easier so for everybody, the hospital, whoever is using this information. Because at the end of the day, when everyone's born, when everyone goes through the hospital, they already get their birth certificate, and on that birth certificate they already put your fingerprint and they already do all that other stuff. The only thing new that a lot of people are freaking out about is the face picture, the biometrics, the iris scan or whatever. But the thing is that they already got that. Almost all governments already got that. And not just the governments. Like, for example, when you go through airports these days, a lot of times they already scan that. They already got the information. Corporations, they already got that. Meaning, how many times, you just download whatever dumbass app or a bank, app, just to do your banking. Whether it's in Mexico or USA or Cambodia or wherever you're at, what are they going to ask for these days? They're asking you for a face picture, right? They're asking you for biometrics. They're asking you for... So the thing is, it's like, look, at the end of the day, a lot of you guys that are worried about this, you're already on the grid. You're already beyond the grid, okay? And when you're asking the typical Mexican, hey, do you have your biometrics, data with your bank account? And they're going to simply go, what bank? I don't even have a bank. I don't even have a bank account. Okay, so that's the thing. It's like many Mexicans don't even have a bank account. Many Mexicans are unbanked. Whether by choice or whether just because they might be too poor to even get a bank account. And so on and so forth. So, there are so many hurdles, for the government, of Mexico to overcome in order to, put this in place. Again, we've discussed this in depth. There is zero infrastructure. I mean, okay, I don't want to say zero, but there's like, only 10% of the infrastructure laid out. Again, you're looking at it, this is the typical economy of most places in Mexico. There's nothing digital anywhere. All right, the only thing digital is, you might see someone on their phone watching videos or on Instagram or whatever it is. Okay. So it's not, it's not what you think, It's completely different out here. And sometimes people do pay digitally, and when people pay digitally here, a lot of time. Look, by the way, those are the Amish, the Mennonites, okay, but they're Amish. They live all throughout Mexico. You think they're digitized? They're not digitized at all. Come on, man. They're literally Amish, right? I mean, that's the thing, guys. Like it's just a completely different planet out here. And for anyone to really think that this place is gonna get digitized overnight, and this is gonna become a digital prison overnight, it's like I got a bridge to sell you. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Again, they literally don't have the infrastructure, for this digital prison or this digital grid. They just don't have it. So how are they gonna, implement this whole scenario? It's just, I don't know. It's just things like that I don't know. I feel like sometimes people don't think about it, or they take it too, go too in depth. Anyways, let me read a few comments here. Let's say Lourdes says, regardless of the economy and currencies, people in the USA worry about the drug cartel. Can you comment on the issue? Recently, we had a horrific violence. Yeah, actually, Lourdes, I covered those issues when those issues were happening. Okay, so in fact, there's a great segue. Let's pause this for a quick second. Okay, there's a great segue. All right, so what we're gonna do here, okay, is that we're gonna go to my my website, sorry, my YouTube page, right? All right, so we're gonna go to my YouTube page. Hold on a second, I forgot I didn't set this up. Okay, so we're just gonna go to my YouTube page, okay? And you can simply go to videos, all right, or you can do a search, all right. But anyways, let's just go to the videos real quick, and because I did this recently, and I did a video right there, so you can see it. It's right above my head, talking about, again, the cartel violence. All right, I also, if you click up there where it says live streams, I've also talked about it here in depth, amongst other things. Right, so I don't even know what was the question again. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, the violence. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, there's a way more violence in my estimation in the U.S. than there is in Mexico. Obviously, there's cartel violence in Mexico. There's cartel wars, all this stuff. But again, as we've discussed in depth, none of that is affecting Americans or Canadians or even most Mexican civilians. Obviously, it does affect Mexican civilians. In fact, if it's affecting anyone, it's Mexican civilians, okay? And again, we've talked about that in depth, but it's not affecting Americans or Canadians or anything like that. Because again, cartel members, for the most part, cartels, they're business oriented, you know what I mean? And so that's why they themselves, are not looking to harm Americans or Canadians or Europeans or anyone that's coming out here to spend money, all right? So, but again, if you want more details, go check out those other videos. And again, you can check out all kinds of other videos that I have on the channel, all right? By just going to my channel and checking it out, doing a quick search, for any topic, okay? So I guess, someone was asking the cartel, so let's see what comes up. All right, so right off the bat, okay, and see, we'll talk about violence, talk about whatever, all right? So you guys can check it out. All right, what was I gonna say? All right, let's get back to the show. Forgot what I was saying. I lost my train of thought. I think we're just reading comments. Arth says the new Sims the new Sims cards from the OXXO are now asking you to register. What happened to tourists if they don't have corpse? Okay, so the reality is that, have you encountered one of these SIM cards that is forcing you to register? Because one thing is what you're going to read online, and one thing is actually having a okay, that's number one. Okay, number one. Number two, okay, many people, another reason why a lot of people have not been able to register, even though, because remember, there are people out there that do want to register, like Americans or Canadians, and so when they've been trying to register, they just haven't been able to register. There's like an error, there's like a this, there's like a that, so you can't even register even if you want to. Okay, so look, the reality is that there are SIM cards readily available that don't have to, that you don't have to, register at all. All right. So, like I said, you know what I mean? If you encounter an OXXO that has them, well, there's a bunch of other OXXOs that might not have them. There's a bunch of other stores. Again, you can simply go to the Mercado, literally where I'm showing you right now, where we're walking around, and ask around there, and you can get yourself a SIM card without having to register, if that's what you're looking for. Okay, like I already said, like I already discussed earlier. But yes, I don't know, Arth, you know what I mean? Like I said, you know what I mean? Like, look, to me, it's like this, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know who you are, Arth. Thank you for joining us in the chat. Thank you for joining the conversation, okay? But, one thing is what you are saying, which is just one individual in my chat, which nobody knows who you are. And there's everybody else in Mexico, 130 million plus, okay? And if this is a problem, then this would be news all over the place. This would be all over the place right now. So I don't, So yeah, okay. So what is the biggest cell phone company? I know you're probably gonna Google it. So look, Arth, you know what I mean? Like the reality is that for right now, what you're saying. Thank you for your documentation of your situation. You know what I mean? But that's just one case. I haven't heard any other cases. Mexicans, they get cell phones all the time. You know what I mean? They have to get numbers all the time. They have to get SIM cards all the time for many different reasons. Okay, let's say that I don't know, Gerardo or Pepe or Pedro wants to cheat on his wife. They're gonna get a SIM card. Okay, they're gonna get one of those cards. So, like I said, you know what I mean? If this was a thing, like how you're saying, this would, I would already have heard about it, and it would be a problem, and it would be all over the place. So, again, you know what I mean? I know what you're saying. You know what I mean? That's one thing that they said that we're going to eventually do. But, I have yet to hear anything about them doing anything like that. So, anyways. So, look, Arth, if you're in Mexicali, all right, and you want a SIM card that's not registered, you just go to the local flea market, tianguis, ask any other Mexican, and you'll be able to get one, okay? It's not that big a deal. But I sincerely doubt it that, you're not going to be able to find a regular SIM card, period, in the story. So, but that's the thing, guys, you know what I mean? So look, this is what we're dealing with right now. I don't know who Arth is. I don't want to be, pointing out to whoever Arth is, but you got to remember that we're living in weird times right now. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of people that we don't know out there. It could be bots. It could be humans. They're trying to steer a narrative one way or the other. Okay. And so obviously, again, I don't know who Arth is or what, whatever, but it's up to you in the audience to make the distinction, whether you're going to believe that person or you're going to just believe what you're seeing in front of your eyes and what you're going to see, out here on a regular basis. Because like I was saying, you know what I mean? Like, this is not a thing, because if it was a thing, trust me, man, this would be all over the news. This would be something that a lot more people would be talking about, and I could go on and on. All right. So I sincerely doubt that that's a thing, at all. You know what I mean? Because like I said, for months already, you know what I mean? Before this was even, a thing that was forced to register or anything like that, they were already offering, so many other solutions besides, SIM cards that you can buy at the flea market, right? And the reality is that, the whole registration thing, okay? It's supposed to be, okay, done by June 30th at this point, okay? But it's not, mandatory or anything like that because look, okay, let me explain to you. So in Mexico, many people, okay, what they do is that they get a SIM card, okay? Let's just talk about it, right? So what they do is they'll go to, an OXXO, a store, they'll go anywhere, right? And they'll buy a little SIM card with a number, whatever, and they'll pop it in their phone, okay? And they got a phone number. And then they get a certain amount of minutes and certain amount of minutes and certain amount of text and certain amount of data with whatever package they purchase, okay? And so every time that they purchase that, once it runs out, they go back to an OXXO or they go elsewhere and they refill it. And they can add more, they can add less, they can add the same, whatever, okay? And so what happens is that many times, people, since they're on a budget out here in Mexico, as you guys can see all around you, they don't have enough money to pay to refill their phone. So what they do is that they connect to Wi-Fi. And by connecting to Wi-Fi, their phone still works. And Mexico has many Wi-Fi connections all over the place. Whether the business is offering Wi-Fi or all the parks offer Wi-Fi. You see parks everywhere. So what a lot of people do, for example, let's say you're right there in El Centro and you have no data and you need to use your data so you can contact your wife or your husband, or you need to call an Uber or whatever it is. Well, what you do is you just walk to the park, connect to the Wi-Fi, and you're good to go. Or walk to a business, connect to the Wi-Fi, and you're good to go. And you don't need to pay for your service. And in fact, your phone number doesn't even need to be working. And so what they said is that if you don't register your number by a certain date, you're just not going to be able to make regular phone calls and regular text, which a lot of people don't do anyway. They use, they use Wi-Fi, and they connect to WhatsApp, or they connect through Facebook Messenger, or they connect. So again, even if they really do force this, people are just not going to do it because they can just connect to Wi-Fi. All right, and then if that becomes a thing, they're just gonna have more Wi-Fi spots all over the place. That's all that's gonna happen. All right, and so that's the thing, guys. I mean, it's just a completely different world out here. It's not like in the USA where every single cell phone is already 100% registered and everybody gets a cell phone bill. And no. It's nothing like that. Look, that person right there is selling cell phones. You know what I mean? Like they're probably selling SIM cards right there. Look, right there, selling SIM cards. I could go on and on and on. All right, so Arth, okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to be picking on you, but if you are going into an OXXO and that's all you're finding, listen, there's like 100,000 other places you can go and still get your SIM card. Okay, and it's funny, see, Arth is like, oh, I can see people now using WhatsApp more. Again, obviously, it doesn't seem you've been to Mexico. Everybody uses WhatsApp. That's all they use in Mexico is WhatsApp. By the way, thank you, Arth, because you're helping me talk about these things that maybe a lot of people in the audience might not be aware of. But yeah, so that's the thing too. So everyone in Mexico uses WhatsApp. Everyone in Mexico connects, to the internet, or again, they connect, to other people through different means. So really, the reality is that the whole registering the phone number thing, it's very easy for people not to register and not care whether they're gonna not have access to their phone number or not, because most people just connect through the internet, and they connect to, again, they communicate with other individuals in every other way that does not require a cell phone tower. It does not require a connection, to a cell phone company or anything like that. So, and look, someone was talking about the cartel earlier. Another thing is that, like, the reason that they're saying that that they want everyone to register their phones, right, is simply because, it's in order to stop crime, to go after the cartel, blah, blah, blah. But what people don't understand is that the cartel, they have their own cell phone towers, they got their own SIM cards, they got their own networks. Okay? You're not using, AT&T, okay? So... And the majority of Mexicans know these things, and so that's why they don't trust the government, they don't trust the registration, they don't trust the banks, they don't trust any of this stuff. You know what I mean? And they have an economy. Again, 80% of the economy, it does not function within that system. Okay, and so when you're living in the USA, Canada, Europe, where 80% of the economy is on the digital grid, well, I mean, you guys are only a stone's throw away from the digital prison. But when you move to Mexico, or you go to other countries around the world that are similar to Mexico, it's completely different. 80% is cash only. People barter out here, for crying out loud, on a regular basis. So that's right, Arth. You know what I mean? The cartel members have satellite phones. They got their own, cell phone networks. They have their own, very sophisticated communication system. So, anyways, let me see. I've heard that most people use WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger in some areas. Correct. Yeah, people use both, but 90% use WhatsApp. And look, by the way, WhatsApp is what's used worldwide, okay? So no matter what country you're going to, WhatsApp is usually the application that most people use to communicate, okay? Because again, I can do phone calls, I can do text, I can send voice messages, I can do all kinds of things, send, memes. And you don't have to be connected. Meaning you don't have to be connected to any cell phone towers or anything like that. So that's the thing, guys. The reality is that most Mexicans are not connected, period, end of story already. So what makes you think that they're going to be connecting overnight? Again, part of, being able to implement a system like this, across the country, not only do you need to have the infrastructure to set it up, which they don't, but they also need to have the enforcement capabilities. They need to enforce this. Otherwise, people are just going to do what they want, correct? And when you live in a country like Mexico, where 90% of the crimes are not pursued out there, all right, remember, we live in anarchy out here. It's a different world out here. You got to take matters into your own hands in some cases. But the point is that out here, it's a different world. So if 90% of actual crimes, okay, of all crimes, are not really pursued in any capacity, what makes you think that they're going to be pursuing this in any capacity? So again, not just the phones, but everything, the digitalization of anything, you know what I mean? So that's the thing, guys. You got to remember, right now, in places like the gas stations, right? Gas stations are notorious, for scamming people all across Mexico. And, whether it's digitized or not, people are still going to be able to scam your ass, all right? Because what they do at the gas stations is that they, they'll play with the digital thing on the digital, the thing that registered the gasoline that you buy, so they play with all that stuff. So long story short, they're selling you, 5 liters of gasoline. But, that's what it shows, right? It shows that you're being sold 5 gallons of gasoline, 5 liters, whatever, right? And you pay for that. And then when you, actually measure what they give you, they probably give you 4 liters of gasoline or 3.5 liters of gasoline. So they're going to still do that. Doesn't matter whether it's digitized or not. They're always going to find a way to get cash. If you show up to the gas station and say, hey, I only have cash, don't worry, they'll figure it out. And I can go on and on and on, okay? Everyone has a price in Mexico. All officials, especially someone working at a gas station for minimum wage, give me a break, all right? And, as I've mentioned, even when it comes to like the toll booths and things like that, all that's going to do is force people to just get on the regular roads and then just pay the tolls to the villagers or cartel members or whoever is out there that will accept cash. Okay? And the whole thing with the digitized ID, digitized corp, digitized whatever, again, most people are already there already, and it's really, that's the least of anyone's really worry. The worry that most people have is giving any kind of information to the government. Where, again, when you're coming from the US or Canada, you already give all your information to the government for free. And out here, people still, have a respect for their privacy, or they have a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? They care a lot about their privacy, and they don't like giving any information to the government, and they're not legally required to. And so as the government does things to, kind of force people, again, quote unquote, force people to do it, the typical Mexican is just not going to do it, and you cannot force everyone to comply. Again, they've already done this in other countries like India and so on and so forth, and it's been not a success. All right, so I don't know. That's what I look at more than anything else. I look at the environment that you're living in, the people, and the economy, and how everything really functions out here. And when you're out here, you quickly realize that, well, wait a minute. Like, how are they going to implement any of this stuff? It seems like almost impossible. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible to put in a digital alternative, but to make everything digital? No. Look, that blue bus right there, that was an attempt to make all the buses digitally. And long story short, they've been a success on one end, and they've been a major failure on the other end. And the only thing that did with the failure of the new bus system that was requiring only digital payments is that it forced the old buses back online. And now you see the old buses, all over the place, more than ever, because they offer not just a cash alternative, but again, in many cases, a better alternative than the blue buses, because, the other buses will take you to places that the blue bus won't, and vice versa. And people that still need to get on the blue bus, that's digital only, and they only have cash, many times, because I go on the blue buses. You know, many times someone will jump on the bus and they don't have enough. I'm sorry, they don't have a digital card or digital payment to get on the bus, and they'll just simply ask someone on the bus, "Hey, can somebody do me the favor? Can you pay for my fare with your digital card, and I'll give you the cash?" And there's always somebody that says, "Yes, of course, no problem." Worst case scenario, the bus driver, if there's nobody on the bus, a bus driver will be like, "Yeah, don't worry, I'll take it." Or they'll even take a beer in exchange for you just to get on the bus for free. Okay? So it's a different world out here, guys. You know what I mean? It's not, to me, it's like, of course the world is getting digitized. Of course Mexico's getting digitized, and people recognize. Again, look, that's one of the buses right there. That's like a little van. But anyways, and so, a lot of people are digitized, and, they understand the benefits of having a bank account and being able to pay digitally and all this other stuff. But they keep all that to a minimum because, again, they understand completely as well that, the more digital payments that they do, the more digital movements that they have in the bank, the more likely, they're going to have to pay taxes for that stuff at some point. Okay, because there is a Mexican IRS. It's called SAT, okay? And obviously, again, the IRS in Mexico is not as powerful as in the US because they don't have an enforcement agency like they do in the USA. And this is why many people don't pay taxes. The majority of Mexicans don't pay taxes. Doctors pay the minimum amount of tax. Again, I've explained many times when we're talking about like healthcare and things like that, how many doctors, surgeons, hospitals, they would rather take cash because that way they don't have to declare it, aka they don't have to pay taxes on it. Okay, not paying taxes in Mexico is as Mexican as guacamole. I don't know what else to tell you. You know what I mean? So it's for reals. It's as Mexican as tequila. It's as Mexican as mariachi music. It's as Mexican as tacos. All right, and that's the thing too. You know what I mean? This is why there is a very steep not income tax. Sorry, there's a very steep what's a tax? I'm sorry. What's a tax on everything? The IVA. The purchase tax. Man, I'm having so many brain farts today. Sales tax, okay? That's why the sales tax out here in Mexico is through the roof. I don't know what it is now, but it's like 17-18%. So basically everything you purchase has a 17 or 18% purchase tax, okay? And that's how Mexico as a country really gets their taxes. That's the way, because most Mexicans don't pay taxes in one shape, form, or another. Again, and most people, 90%, like the majority of cash-only businesses don't pay any kind of tax. But again, when you're purchasing anything, again, there's a sales tax that's attached to everything out there. So, and everybody has to purchase. Doesn't matter what your income is, you got to purchase toilet paper, you got to purchase food, you got to purchase, whatever it is. And so they, whatchamacallit, so that's how Mexico generates its tax revenue. Most of it, the majority of it. All right. Let me see. All right, let me read some comments here. Arth says, also there are sim apps. I won't mention them here, but they could sponsor you, Jose. Oh no, yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing too. You make a great point. Arth, you make a great point. By the way, thank you very much. Sorry for picking on you earlier. I really appreciate your comments and your conversation because, you really did help kind of move it along here. But yes, you make an amazing point, Arth. I completely forgot about that. You know what I mean? Like about all these sim apps that exist. And yeah, you're right. I should get one of them as a sponsor. I just always forget. It's just, honestly, I hate that. I hate sponsors and sponsorships and videos. And to me, it's like I'm trying to give you guys the best viewing, the best viewing thing possible here. And I know that ads are not the best always, and I already have ads on the show, and a lot of people already complain about how many ads, which by the way I can't really control. I've tried to take ads away from my videos and it just does not work. Okay, it just does not go well. So my apologies for the ads on my videos. Again, thank you very much. They help so much when you do watch them. But at the end of the day, yeah, like it's a trickery slope. So that's why I don't really do sponsorships. I do them from time to time, but very rarely, because yeah, the viewing experience for me, I try to I try to make it as best as possible under the conditions. So I forgot. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I was gonna say the sim apps. So with that being said, how many Mexicans, would do that already? You know how many Mexicans and how many people worldwide, pirate everything? So it's funny because in the U.S., most Americans, are dealing with the fact that, like, I can't watch television. I can't watch sports anymore because I need, all these streaming services. I need to have Paramount and Netflix and this and that, whatever. And out here in Mexico and the majority of the world, almost everyone pirates everything. So everybody just gets to watch everything at any moment in time, no problem. All right, so that's not an issue. So a lot of Mexicans also well versed on how to do all that stuff as well. So yes, you're 100% correct. You know what I mean? Like the e-sims, the virtual sims. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, that would be another solution. In fact, a very affordable solution to many people, and that's what a lot of people will probably just use. So. No, yeah, now, yeah, I don't think you're a bot, because otherwise you wouldn't be saying anything about the e-sims. So, Fernie's asking, how does employment work in Mexico? Very easy. Look, what you do is you go to my website, my YouTube page. Okay, you go to my YouTube page, and right there, where it says search. Okay, right here where it says search. Right there, right above, right there. Okay, so we're gonna put job. Okay, JOB, and right there, boom. Okay, there's a whole video. Okay, talking about that. So go ahead and watch that video when you get a chance, all right? And you can do that with anything else, okay? Immigration, whatever topic you're looking for, okay? Wow, these are the first videos I get on immigration. Oh man. Anyways, that's funny. This is, look, a 4-year-old video. That's hilarious. Really, this should be the first video right here. Ugh. No comments, all right? No comments. All right, so back to the show here. Anyways. How's the weather? It's great. Again, I did videos on that as well. You can do a search for more information. Moises Gomez says, how do I transfer my certification to work in Mexico as a flembal? I don't know. I know Spanish, but I don't know how to start. I have no idea. I would guess that you could look, again, I know that there's doctors out here that practice in the USA and practice in Mexico, and a lot of them, what they end up doing is, if they can afford to do so, or they have the ability to do so because they know English, is that they'll practice in the USA. They might go to the USA, do some surgeries, do whatever, live out here, have their practice out here. So you can do both. But really, I think you're just going to have to get recertified, honestly. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. Obviously, I don't know the extent of it because I have no clue, about anything when it comes to medical degrees. But I do know that, you can simply just recertify here, or you can, again, in your case, you might have to get reschooling here or whatever. But it does help a lot, okay, that you already have, not just a degree in the USA, but you practice in the USA and so on and so forth, and that you know Spanish. So since you know both of those, the transition should be very easy. But yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I had, a magic answer for that, but it's really not that difficult. Just do some searches online. I am sure Google is very useful. Okay, try using Google. Simply type it in. By the way, guys, I mean, honestly, you can literally type anything into Google or anything like that these days, all right? And they'll give you the answer to whatever you're looking for. And by the way, my tip when you're doing any kind of search, be specific. So literally ask Google a question. The same question. You can copy paste the question you asked me right there. Again, how do I transfer my certification? Blah, 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 blah. Ask that to Google, and Google will literally spit your answer out, all right? In one shape, form, or another, okay? And let you know. It might not be correct, but at least, or it might not be 100%, but at least it's in the right direction. And then from there, you can do more research and kind of figure it out, okay? And not just that question, but any question, okay? Oh, there we go. We got Charles. What's your What's your next 420 video coming out? Well, aren't we just a few days away from 420? By the way, I didn't freeze. It was my brain that froze because that question was so... No, I'm just messing with you, man. No, but yeah, Sunday. Glad you brought that up because Sunday's 4/19, so it's going to be a day early, all right? But Sunday. That's when the next update is coming out, okay? Is it safe to buy small amounts in these Facebook groups? I wouldn't. Again, it depends on the part of Mexico you're in. But either way, I wouldn't. So I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but in the video, I'll get, again, I give you more details, kind of, sort of. But yeah, the thing is, it's like, it's a complicated issue, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, it's not what we thought it would be these days, okay? So, things have seemed to be regressing, if anything. But yeah, long story short, depends on the part of Mexico you're in, will depend on how relaxed they are with the laws concerning this or not. So, hopefully that helps answer the question. But like I said, on Sunday, I'm dropping a 420 video for the occasion. And it's the most recent update that I can provide you guys. It's basically, from an update that I got like 2 weeks ago to a month ago. So it's the most recent thing out there. And yeah, it goes more in depth on that. But again, I also have another video that I posted last year for 420 that goes into more details. But yeah, like I said, just wait till Sunday, okay? Yeah, if you're speaking of Merida, yeah, I would not be... Yeah, stay away from those Facebook groups, My advice to you is just, ask a friend that already partakes, and then they can help you out. That's all I can say. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. But, yeah. Anyways. This like, Earth says, I used to go to OG Tacos El Oso on Maclay when I was a kid. I don't know where that is. I'm guessing that's up north, in North Mexico. But anyways, where were we? But anyways, guys, yeah, so like that's the thing, guys. At the end of the day, everyone's extremely look, by the way, right now Charles, that was asking about 420 or asking about things like that. That's another thing too, guys. You got to remember, you know what I mean? There are many vices that people have out here in Mexico, just like every other country around the world, where existing in a digital grid will not allow people to access those things. So for example, if everything's digitized, how are people going to get their drugs? How are people going to be able to cheat on their spouses or whatever? How are people going to be, being able to do, all kinds of businesses, all kinds of things, okay, where they need privacy and anonymity and so on and so forth. So I could go on and on, yeah, you know what I mean? Like the reality is that, no one's going to be embracing this. And then look, in places, just for context, in places in Europe, I'll give you a prime example like Germany. Okay, in places like Germany where they've embraced, a lot of the digitization, digital grid, they push back on digital cash and the digitization of money to the point where, again, now everyone in Germany, for the most part, uses cash. Even though they're very, very digitized out there, they've been able to push back to the point where they're not, instilling, they're not implementing any kind of digital cash. They're leaving regular cash. So that's the thing, guys. You know what I mean? Like you gotta understand too that, Mexico is in no hurry, at all, and they have absolutely zero faith in the government and banks and corporations or anything like that to all of a sudden overnight, just blindly, start doing, all the things that the government and the corporations and the banks and the people in power are telling them to do. Especially when they have an already existing system, which again, you've seen all, throughout the video today, that is 100% completely off grid, 100% completely cash, 100%, again, no bank account, no digital imprint, no nothing, man. That's the thing that a lot of people just don't realize. I mean, like a lot of Mexico that just has no no nothing, no paper trail of just about anything. And you know, where you come from in the USA, everything has a paper trail. And you know, no matter what you do, you know, you fart too much, and there's already, you know, some CO2 emitter thingy, you know, measuring your farts coming out of your ass. Pardon my French. All right. If it hasn't come to, if the fart machine hasn't come to you yet, expect it in the near future. Okay. It's just, it is what it is. Sorry, Lambo. Sorry. It was all those bean burritos I had last night. Anyways. Trueque. It's called trueque. Trueque. I can't even say it right. But anyways, the trueque system, which is the barter system, will make a comeback. Again, it's already existing full and well out here. I literally bartered with a friend of mine the other day because they brought me a bottle of whiskey. Shout out to you, brother. And you know, I gave them some Mexican stuff, you know what I mean, that they don't have out here. You know what I mean? That's it, you know, so you can take back home with them. You know, some Mexican candy. So, you know, that I got from one of the villages or whatever. So, that, you know, and the whiskey he brought me was, you know, some, you know, really fancy whiskey from a place that was hard to get up in the U.S. So he brought me the, you know, whiskey that's hard to get. And I got him some honey candies, you know, from a little village. Anyways, whatever. So we did our barter, and the barter goes on all the time. You know, Christian barters all the time with neighbors, with people. I've talked about it in depth. And again, during COVID, when we had that emergency, that's when everybody was really bartering, when everybody was really, you know, helping each other out, community, and that whole thing. You know what I mean? And, you know, we had no system back then, you know, because remember when COVID first happened, remember everything was like shut down and everything was like all haywire. And, you know, people in Mexico still, you know, they just like everywhere else on earth, you got to eat, you got to pay the bills, you got to this, you got that. And, you know, nobody was freaking out. You know what I mean? It was just like, well, you know what I mean? Hey, I can't get my money out because the bank is closed and blah, blah, blah. Oh, don't worry about it. You know, whenever the bank is open, you know, you pay me the thing. Do you need any extra cash? Do you need a loan? You know what I mean? It's like, or what? Or you go to the little store. It's like, hey, Maria, I'm sorry, Maria, I don't have any cash on me because, again, I couldn't go to the bank because, hey, you know, COVID, crazy. You know, I can't get my money out. Oh, don't worry about it, Pedro, I, you know, whatever. You know, we're neighbors, we're family here. Just take what you need. I'll write it down, and then when the bank opens, you know, I'll let you know how much you owe me, and that's it. And that's what happened during COVID, man. And some people that didn't even have any money to get out of the bank when it opened, they still got helped. Okay, by the community, by the neighbors, by everybody here, you know? So that's right, Terry, right? All of this is going on your permanent record. In fact, all of you guys that watch my videos, you guys are on some watch list 100% somewhere. Especially, by the way, shout out to everyone out there showing me so much love. Especially if you watch my other channel. 100%. If you watch my other channel, you're 1000% on some sort of watch list out there. You know what I mean? So, you know, please, you know, if you want to make sure you get your spot on that watch list, you know, go on ahead and check out my other channel. In fact, if you want to show me some love, you want to show me some appreciation, and you want to, you know, be nice, and you want to subscribe, hit the like button, don't do it here. I mean, it would be nice, you know, please hit the like button, subscribe here, but please go to my other channel. Go to my other channel and go subscribe, go hit the like, go watch a video. I'm sure you'll probably enjoy it. And by the way, on this particular channel, the channel that you're watching this on right now, this channel, guess what? We just got 37,000 subscribers earlier today, right before I went live. I got 37,000. We just crossed over 37. Anyways. So yeah, 37, guys. How about that? So we're at 37,000 subscribers. That's insane. I mean, wow. That's a lot of people. So anyways, so thank you very much for all the love and support. Thank you all so much for subscribing and liking and enjoying. And, you know, hopefully you guys have been able to get knowledge and information, you know, from not just this video, but all my other videos and everything else. Again, you know, what I like to do here, I like to provide everything for free. You know, if anyone knows my story, and by the way, if you don't know my story, you can check out my channel for my story. But anyways, I came out here with nothing. I came out here with only $1,500 to my name, and it was very difficult. And I had to learn, you know, through my mistakes and through the years. again, I've been, documenting everything, and you guys have, been able to benefit from it by learning from my own mistakes. And so, yeah, again, in June, I'm going to be making 8 years out here in Mexico. It's crazy how quickly time flies when you're having fun. So, again, I have, a lot of knowledge of, just my life out here, and just in general, all the things that I've been through. But regardless, I'm just trying to help you guys out, entertain you guys, whatever it is. And so that's why I provide so much information for free. The majority, in fact, everything, I provide all my information for free, because I understand that there's people out there that might not have, all the, all the resources to get out of Dodge, and knowledge is power. So that's why I just try to give you guys as much information and knowledge as I can. And, at the end of the day, you got to do your part, and so on and so forth. But look, I know a lot of you guys out there, you might have some resources, but you don't have the time to look through all my videos, listen to me talking about all this stuff, because again, I can be a little long-winded, for some of you guys that, might be new here. And I know time is valuable. So another thing that I like to offer is for anyone out there that is interested in setting up a consultation, you guys can just set up a consultation, and I can answer whatever question, that you have on your mind, and then some, in a one-on-one consultation. So you can just go to my website, set that up fairly easily, and you can save yourself time. You don't got to watch all these videos. You can just simply, set it up, ask me whatever you want to ask me, and go from there. And again, there's some questions, there's a few questions out there, a few topics out there that I can't talk about online for whatever, for obvious reasons. So again, you can set up a consultation for that as well. And that's right, 37K bots. Everyone's a bot out there. We're all bots. We're all robots. So 100%. In fact, we're just 3 years away from, you guys remember Terminator 2? When the robots, took over? We're only 3 years away from that. So you might as well enjoy the time we got left, right? Before, before Judgment Day arrives, right? Man, that's a great movie. But anyways, you can set up a consultation here. Again, you can also search my website. I'm going to put the link down below in the chat. But anyways, you can also check my website for all kinds of useful information, useful videos, all kinds of things. Again, let's just go real quick. Again, you can just go to Living in Merida, useful information. So let's say you're moving to Merida, Yucatan, and you need somebody to help you out, with, finding a rental, someone to help you out with translating services, someone to help you out with transportation, whatever you need. You can contact Alejandra. Let's say you need a lawyer. Let's say you want to buy some real estate. You can contact José, all right, Novelo, and so on and so forth. They got tons of people, restaurants, all my favorite places, the market, you name it. And again, let's say you're moving to another part of Mexico. All right, and you still need information. Look right there, moving to Mexico, general information. You can click there, and you can find, again, the first video, how to find a rental. Okay, how to find, places to live. Second, how to make money, how to find a job. All right. Third thing, 22 things you need to know before moving to Mexico. All right. I got to update this one, the Dollar app, because they changed the name of their company. But anyways, we got the Dollar app. This is a banking solution. We got Apostles. If you want to learn Spanish, if you need to get your citizenship, let's say your parents are Mexican, okay, all your residency options, okay, and so on. How to get a loan. Let's say you want to purchase a home in Mexico and you need a loan, you can get that as well. So again, guys, all kinds of free information. Anything, any question, anything, any topic that you think, that you might be interested in. Okay, just go on ahead and search my channel. But anyways, for anyone out there, that wants to help contribute to the show, again, and you want to have a fun little something to show for it, you want to, let's say, buy a t-shirt, again, all the way up there, I got a merch store, okay? I got a store. Again, you click on there, it'll take you to the store, and look at that. I got some new t-shirts. In fact, t-shirts that I wear all the time. Some of you guys know this t-shirt, I wear this shirt all the time, when I'm biking around. So now if you want your own, you can get it. We also got this one that I also love to wear around, my bike. Okay, by the way, for some of you guys that are joining late, I got my bike at the shop. It's literally getting fixed as we speak, so hopefully we should be back on the road soon. it had a lot of damage. It was really messed up. And we got this brand new one that I just made, which is all the Mayan alphabet. You know, little Mayan symbols. Looks pretty cool, pretty nice, and so on and so forth. So, and we got other T-shirts there. You know, Gulf of Mexico, whatever. All right. We got my mug shot, me and Lambo's mug shot. So yeah, guys. So anyways, this is a great way you can help support the show. Buy a T-shirt, and all proceeds go to Lambo's. You know, whatchamacallit, Lambo's. I forgot. My. I was gonna say Lambo's. Whatchamacallit, like what's the word I'm looking for? Drug rehab. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's why I can't go to rehab, you know, because I can't afford it. So please, guys, you know, we're trying to send Lambo to rehab. So, you know, all proceeds go to his rehab, all right, in case anyone's interested. So, anyways, let me see. Do you guys have any other questions? Any other ideas? Let me see. All right, no more questions. Any more questions? Any more comments? Anyways, hopefully you guys have been enjoying the show today. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today, as always. Oh, shout out to Isaac. I see you out there. Sorry, I didn't see you. Yeah, I know, 37,000 subs. I know, how crazy. So, I gotta get a haircut soon. I'm starting to get too much hair. So, as soon as I get the bike back, I'll be able to make my way to the barber shop. So, that's right. Terminator Judgment Day is coming soon. But anyways, guys, so yeah, I mean, the reality is that, I mean, you can see it all around you. You know what I mean? Not just in my videos and on my channel. There are tons of channels out there these days. Again, when I first started doing these videos, there was only like 2 or 3 channels, 4 channels, 5 channels, I don't know. But now there's like hundreds of channels of people just like me living in Mexico in one shape, form, or another. I know that there's other channels out there, people that are living off grid, living in villages, I mean, come on, you know. So, and you can see, you can go check out those channels so you can see how digitized they are. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the only thing digital they got is, you know, look, how about this? So, look, I don't play video games anymore. I used to play video games when I was younger. You know, I'm an old fart these days, but I know that a lot of people have like the Nintendo Switch, right? And so like the Nintendo Switch, the new one just came out, and a lot of people are complaining that they're not making the digital games anymore. They're not making the physical games anymore. Everything's digital. You got to always be connected online. You got to be connected in order to play, blah, 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 blah. But out here in Mexico, they readily available, you know, they readily sell, and they're readily available, again, whether they're legal or not, a lot of these Nintendo Switches, just to give you an example of many. All right, other video game systems, other similar things. But anyways, they sell, you know, these Nintendo Switches or whatever it is that are, you know, cracked, and they have all the games, and you never have to connect to the internet. And so a lot of people, you know, they use that for obvious reasons. You know what I mean? So, like I said, you know, this is a completely different world, completely different culture out here. You know, things like piracy are, you know, accepted as part of normal everyday life. You know, things like, again, look at those SIM cards right there for sale. I could go on and on and on. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's always going to be somebody that's going to sell you a solution, okay, to whatever problem you got. Again, Viva Mexico. That's 100% sure. So, yeah, even though it might be very scary and very difficult to get out of the digital grid where you're from, in Mexico, I mean, come on, you know what I mean? Like, it's like pulling teeth to get anybody to be on the digital grid. All right, so, and as they keep pushing more and more legislation, more laws, more this, more that, you know, more and more people are pushing away from this. I mean, you know, again, it was already very difficult, you know, for anyone to adopt any of this technology, but now as they're, you know, being, now as all this technology is being pushed down their throat, they're pushing back even harder. So again, I love Mexico, Viva Mexico. You know, again, it's again, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. I'm not saying, again, we know that this is a worldwide problem and so on and so forth, but you know, man, at the end of the day, you know, from what I can see, from my point of view, you know, Mexico might be one of those last bastions of true freedom, you know, left out there, you know, when it's all said and done. But again, what do I know? I'm here with a drug addict horse that needs to go to rehab. Let me see. Firuz says, could you please share how established artists live in Mexico, in Merida? Yeah, look, that's that's a great question. Okay, so look, we're just again, please, help me help you. Okay, so look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to my YouTube page, okay, and we're gonna type art. Okay. And you're going to see all kinds of art, okay? My wife is an artist, okay, as well. So you're going to see all kinds of art in Oaxaca, the Noche Blanca. This is a video that I made recently, a couple days ago or a week ago, making connections and building community and art. So again, please, guys, all I did was just type art. That's it. Okay, so just please, go on ahead and watch my video. Look, this is 5 years old. Wow, this is 5 years ago. Wow, it's been a long time, man. We got to go back to Oaxaca. Anyways, so yeah, La Noche Blanca. That's another great video. To search. I mean, to watch. As it pertains to art. Again, this brand new one that I just uploaded. So, but don't worry. There's a big artist community out here in Merida. So, in fact, you know what? I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to share the last video that I did. Okay? So, here's the last video that I did. Okay? Talking to, just art. Okay? Art and stuff. Okay? Let me see. Hopefully that will help. And that's it. That's right. Full of artists. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to wrap this bad boy up. I got a long day ahead of me. I still got a lot of things I got to get going and doing and stuff like that. I'm sure you do as well. I see there's no more questions, no more concerns, no more comments, which is great because that means I answered just about everything. And again, if I haven't answered anything and you want more information, just check out the rest of the channel as I explained to you guys how you can search on my channel for whatever you're looking for. And then that's it. Yes, I know. I got to come back to Guadalajara. I know. I got to get my finances in order. Right now, again, because, by the way, I got to do a live stream talking about, again, that as well. Because, again, we do cost of living videos on this channel as well, talking about that as well. And, again, cost of living has increased for everyone across the planet, Mexico included. I've been, here in Mexico, I've been able to, like I've been able to mitigate the inflation and mitigate high cost and everything a lot better than if I would have been in the USA. But obviously it's still affecting us out here in Mexico, all of us, in one shape, form or another. And because of that, that's why I haven't really been able to travel. I mean, we're dying to travel, man. I mean, Isaac, for real, we want to go back to Guadalajara. We definitely want to go to Oaxaca again. We got friends in I think, where's it, San Miguel de Allende? Up there. They're dying for us to go visit them. I got my friend, my homie, all the way in Tijuana. I want to go, but it's like, and now it's very difficult, especially with all the, the energy crisis situation. I don't even want to look at plane tickets, but yes, soon. I definitely want to travel. I would literally say, hey, why don't you guys come and visit me here? But you guys already do come visit me here. All of you guys, all my friends from everywhere come visit me here all the time. So that's the thing. I mean, like, we need to travel. We need to go out and we need to do more. But you guys know, you guys have been following me long enough. Last year, we had a lot of, a lot of changes out here. We moved to a new house. That comes, with a cost. A lot of changes, all around as well. And, again, we're just trying to get those finances back in order again, and so far so good. We're starting to make a dent, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's rough for everybody. But again, out here it's less rough. Out here, man, quality of life is so much better. Your peso stretches a lot further, and life, again, in general, is just better. At least in my opinion. I know it might not be for everybody, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's the thing. And so, as we've grown here, again, we just hit 37,000 subscribers and continuing to grow. But as we've grown, unfortunately, we're just growing with inflation. So it's not like we're making, any more money or anything like that. But hey, at least we're able to keep up with inflation. Thank God, right? Knock on wood, we're at least, able to stay afloat and then some. So that's the thing, it's kind of like where we're at right now. But yeah, trust me, I know. We're dying to go back. I dream about the food in Guadalajara all the time, especially that night when we went. Let me say that first day when we had those that birria in el mercado. Oh my God, in el mercado de abastos. Oh, I still dream about that. It's funny because Christian didn't like that much, and her cousin didn't like it that much. Oh man, like I said, I still dream about that. And not just that, like when we were staying in our Airbnb, there was a taco place, and like a little taco stand that was right by where we were staying. And little did I know, it was a very popular taco stand in Guadalajara, or at least in the area. And man, so good, so good. So yeah, 100%. Can't wait to go back. And same as Oaxaca, man. Again, I dream about Oaxaca all the time. The tlayudas. I'd be eating tlayudas all day there. And they had a lot of tacos de canasta and all this other stuff. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we definitely gotta get back to traveling 100%. So hopefully soon. In fact, again, I don't want to, you know what, maybe if I put it out there into the universe, it'll happen, okay? So the reason we went to Guadalajara when we did last year, a couple years ago, was because Christian and her cousin were going to go see a concert. And so a lot of times, we kind of like, we do something like that. When we're doing a trip, we do, what is it? There's something to do. There's a reason for the trip, okay? So we usually find the reason first, and then that makes the trip easier. But anywho's, as you guys know or might not know, I am an American football fan. And it might be that the Miami Dolphins might be playing the San Francisco 49ers in Mexico City this year. We don't know yet, but if that happens and it's affordable enough, might go visit. So we might go visit Mexico City for sure. Yeah, because that's another thing too. A lot of times, we've been to Mexico City many times, and I've never really filmed in Mexico City because every time we go, we go and we're busy. We're always busy with things, right? And I never really got to film or anything like that. So I would love to go and do some filming there. That's 100%. So. Oh, the mezcal in Oaxaca is next level, man. Oh, mezcal is my favorite. 100%. Any good authentic places with tlayudas in Merida? Well, not really. Well, yes, but not really. I mean, there's a place up north of the city. Just type tlayudas. Go to Google Maps, type tlayudas, right? And there's a place that's in the north of the city. It's not a restaurant. It's like a food cart or something, like a food whatever. And they sell tlayudas there. We don't go there because it's so far away from where we live that it's just pain in the ass to get up there. But long story short, yeah, that place is great. It's as close as you're gonna get to Oaxaca. But again, unless you're in the area all the way up north, it's probably not gonna, or you have a car, it's probably gonna not be easy to get out there. Muchas gracias. Yes, I can't wait. No, but like honestly, again, same thing as San Miguel de Allende. We got a friend out there. We also have a room out there. But yeah, right now is like the plane ticket, and just a few other things as well. You gotta, you know how it is. When you're doing any kind of vacation or traveling or whatever. But listen, don't worry. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna be doing some traveling soon. And by the way, so we're starting to get like again back, back on our feet or whatever. So once we really, kind of get back on our feet, we'll be able to be planning trips and what I mean? At the end of the day, traveling across Mexico is not that expensive. The only cost really that we have is plane tickets. Other than that, everything is very affordable. I mean, again, I'm always surprised every time we do a trip to anywhere. Again, even Guadalajara. I was expecting Guadalajara to be extremely expensive, only to quickly find out it wasn't at all. So it was very affordable. So again, coming from a tourist perspective, usually when you're in a tourist mode, you're spending the most. And yet, yeah, so anyways, all right, guys. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, man, because otherwise I'm going to be here all day talking to you guys. Anyways, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really, 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 again, enjoy our time together here every single Thursday when I go live and hang out with you guys. And what was I going to tell you? And yeah, and every Sunday and every Tuesday. So again, you already know, every Sunday and Tuesday I upload videos. Sundays I like to upload, video just about culture, about, a certain topic. And then on Tuesdays I like to upload real estate videos, but it's random. I upload whatever, but usually that's kind of like what I do here. But anyways, this Sunday, for those of you guys that might be waiting for it or anticipating it, it's going to be a 420 update. So again, stay tuned for that if you need that information. And then on Tuesday we got another property. I think a rental or a house. I think it's a house for sale. So whatever. And then that's it. You know how we do here. And then I'll see you here next Thursday with whatever topic. By the way, if you made it all the way through and you're watching this, okay, please leave below in the comment section if there's a certain topic that maybe you want me to talk about in the future live stream or video. Let me know. Let me know down below and I'll cover it if I haven't covered it already. All right. If I covered it, I'll send you the link to that video. If I haven't covered it, well, there you go. I'll do that. All right. So please, leave it down below in the comments. Okay. Once we're done with this video. So, all right, guys, with all that said, thanks again for watching. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. You already know the deal. If you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please continue to stay awesome. Thanks again for watching. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.